next spot we want to look at is challenging to marketing. So what are some of the biggest challenges to marketing these features to home buyers, and what advice would you have for our audience here as they're trying to convince potential home buyers, this is why what you want, this is why you should maybe pay a little bit more for it. So Nick, what's your response to that?
Right. We can't put these features into homes without turning them into higher sales prices or higher sales velocity in our communities. We got to learn to talk about them. And that's what we talked about last year on this panel in this show with Mike Mancini and C.R. Harrow. And C.R., I remember, memorably said, you can't sell this stuff in lab coats, talking about SEER ratings and lowy windows. You've got to focus on lifestyle impacts that speak to the buyers. So that starts with healthy indoor air and communicating how taking gas combustion out of our kitchens, gas combustion out of our laundry rooms, and replacing those with efficient heat pump and induction technologies, and how that reduces the amount of carbon monoxide in our indoor air, reduces carbon dioxide emissions too, of course, and how proper ventilation of our new indoor spaces is vastly superior to what the used homes that you grew up in had. And communicating how that means less absences from school and work. It means when you're working from that home office, you're probably more productive. You're thinking more clearly because you've got the right indoor air. You're sleeping better at night behind your closed bedroom doors because they're properly ventilated and don't have residual combustion byproducts. Also, you put in that induction cooktop, you're boiling water in half the time. Your heat pump dryer is gentler on your clothes, does just as good a job. So there are key performance advantages too that come with this transition to lower emission homes, smaller footprint homes. And that resiliency one I spoke about earlier, the ability to have your home be an island in case of a blackout. And I think for most of us, that happens a couple times a year. And the ability to just flick a switch and seamlessly carry on. Sure, you're not running your air conditioner. You can't do everything with a battery backup system. But you can ride out those disturbances, which generally are a day or two, and be a source of support for the whole community. So talk about the features that way, not in lab coats, not about conservation or efficiency, but lifestyle enhancements. That's the real key for all of us.
Okay, do you guys agree? Or what would you add to that?
Yeah. For my product category, consumer awareness is a big challenge, taking it to the market. People do not interact with water heating until there is a problem, generally. It's an expected convenience to have every time.
And we're going to see that in all 5 of the sessions here in this room. Systems and structures are all kind of invisible things that the customers don't see. And so when it comes to marketing, we have to try to make them visible for them.
Sure, but what we are seeing, though, one trend we are seeing is generally from a water heater replacement, it's usually 80+% is an emergency replacement. People don't replace their water heater, that 80+ doesn't replace it until it's an emergency. We're starting to see that trend in a lot of different parts of the country where it's more like 50 or 60% weight on that emergency replacement. So that tells you there's this 30 to 40% of consumers who are making a proactive decision to replace their water heater before it goes out. So, there are a lot of reasons for that, but one is bringing awareness to the efficiency. It could be time of use rates given by their utility. It could be the decarbonization movement that they're hearing now over and over, the whole greenwashing that we're seeing. So it's certainly a trend we're seeing. So I think it's something that's important to bring to this conference is there is an awareness. It's not where we want it to be, but there is an awareness from that standpoint.
How else do we overcome these challenges to marketing?
I think the important thing to remember here is that we can get out ahead of these trends, and it can be a benefit to us. It can be a benefit to our homeowners. I do think, though, that we need to focus probably on the broader set of benefits, and making sure that we're addressing everything beyond just climate change. I think there are sort of practical benefits, as he mentioned, that can resonate with a broader group of people, right? And so focusing there, like for instance, I have a Samsung mini split heat pump system, and I love that thing. I love it at the end of the month when I get my bill, which is a lot lower than it was before. But there are other aspects of it that I love too. For instance, like zoning control, right? The ability to have one room at one temperature, another at another, and I have 4 different zones in my house. So that was a huge feature that would have also helped sell me on that beyond just the efficiency of it.
Kenny?
I mean, everything that we're talking about up here is emotional, right? Like the money is the money, but really people get emotional about being more efficient in their lives, and things like saving money because of the things that make their lives more efficient, saving time. The marketing of all of this, the guy he was speaking of is exactly right. Like if we're just going to throw science at people, everyone's going to resist. But you start talking about the things that matter, which is the time that they get back for having a more efficient house or the money that they save for having a more efficient house over time. Those are the things that sell to people, right? So that's what I'd add to that.
So one more voice I want to add, particularly to this topic, and we're going to hear more from him tomorrow. But I've kind of pulled some of his pre-recorded content to this one, is from an individual named Mike Moore. He'll do his formal introduction tomorrow, but here's his thoughts on how we can improve marketing for these specific areas.
If we're going to promote the difference between new and used, then water and energy efficiency and what's different about our home has to be presented and has to be on the front of the minds of our salespeople and presented well and demonstrated at the sales centers and the models. But even before that, with the digital transformation, we've not done a good job of just educating the buyer and their online and their shopping and explaining what our new home has that our used homes don't. What a new model home has, and I don't mean the model, I mean 2022, 2023, 2024, as we move forward, what does that home have that the home 3, 4, 5 years ago didn't have? So do we have signage in the models? Do we have things that will separate new from used and highlight how we're saving water, how we're saving money? I'm not necessarily a green buyer, but I want to be efficient and I want to save dollars and I want the newest and best. I don't want it built to 5-year-old standards. I want it built new to today's standards. So we need signage and we need pre-marketing and then signage and education for the sales team. So they're presenting these things as a differentiation between new and used. In a lot of cases, your salespeople are used home buyers, and you're going to have to get them educated to the difference between new and used right from the beginning.
I think some good thoughts as you're putting that together, and I see a few of you writing down notes and stuff, so hopefully that spoke to you. Well, we are almost out of time for this session. I would say the one other thought that I had at this kind of end thing is when I go to buy a car, we have the price up front, and then I know what the miles per gallon is, and so I can start to kind of estimate what the total cost of ownership is for a car. I have a pretty good idea what my maintenance costs are going to be for certain models of cars. Maybe some of you are doing this very well now, but it feels like we don't have that comparable thing when it comes to buying a house. It's just that first number. Here's what it is, and that's what the buyers focus on. Is there a way that we can have them expect, give me the comparable number that's the miles per gallon. What is it going to cost me to operate this house, so that some of these things that maybe do front load some of those costs, they can see that it is going to reduce the total cost of ownership over a period of time, particularly if I'm going to be in that home for 3, 4, 5 years. I can see that paying a little bit more up front is going to save me more in the long term and be more efficient. Is anyone doing something like that already and trying to quantify that? How are you doing that? Let's get the microphone out here. I saw someone nodding their head there. Will you share? Yeah.
We build down in Southwest Florida, and about 2 years ago, we started building what we call high-performance homes. Effectively, we're getting HERS ratings down in the low 40s, but it's not standard yet. We're going to be this coming year, having a whole line of truly, by default, what we call high-performance homes, net zero ready. But right now, we offer it as a standard option on every one of our homes. It's between 5 and 8% of the base price, excluding land of the home. And it effectively gives us, you're going to cut your power bill by more than half. It's most of what these guys have been talking about, heat pump, water heater, high CRAC, very well sealed and insulated home envelope, some things like that. And so at this point, about a third of our clients opt for that package, which is way more than the old guard of our company thought would be the case. And it's going to be growing from there. And then the added benefit, and sorry, I'll just get right to the point, of offering that system is when clients start to look at, it could be a backup full home generator, but more often than not, in our case now, it's solar arrays and battery systems. The solar array size and the battery system size only needs to be half as big because your home only uses half the power, so you get to cut that cost in half as well. And so, down in Florida, we get lots of hurricanes. We might have no power for a week, 2 weeks at a time. You don't even need to invest in a buried propane tank and a generator anymore because these clients have solar arrays and they have batteries, and they could run their own homes for 6 months straight if they wanted to, theoretically, if the grid was down. So can I turn that into a quick question?
No, we're out of
okay.
time. But you can ask it maybe in the next session if it ties in. And you're welcome to come up and chat with any of these individuals on the show floor or right afterwards here. The customers are there. They're willing to pay more if you show them the benefits and give them the option and realize that maybe some of the customers that you're dealing with right now that are just focused on price, maybe they're not going to buy, but there's others that have been waiting for a house that has these features, and that will prompt them to buy. So we'll kind of leave it for that for today. Next steps for each of you. You each have boardrooms that you should be going to. I believe on either the back of your card or in your packet, it tells you where you're supposed to go next. Please make sure you're there on time for your boardroom discussions. And if you have any additional questions, I will put here on the screen. Yes, thank you. Make that full screen. Is that we do have all the contact information for everyone up here. So if there was someone that you wanted to ask a question to, take that snapshot. If you can't grab them here at the moment, please feel free to reach out to them. They've all shared their information. Okay, well, please give a round of applause for our panelists here today, for our sponsor, Infinity Energy. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for our next panel. Thanks, everyone.